Boy, where to begin? Yeah, so pretty much I saw this anime like a long time ago. Pretty much, I don't know, like '06 or whatever. I remember it's almost like I was the same age as Negi when I first saw this. It just felt like it, right? But probably middle school or something. I saw it when I was young. I saw it in like the early days of YouTube, and there was just I think there was like a good amount of episodes like streamed on YouTube during that time. But man, this anime did not age well in this current year. I mean, I'm looking back at it and I feel like I'm probably going to jail actually watching it. I don't know what's up with the ideas. Why is Negi 10? Why does it have to be in the middle school? Why the thing is that really frustrates me is Negi's age. Why? Out of any age, it had to be him being 10 years old. What is that? But this anime itself reaches to a point where everyone has their abilities, and I haven't gotten to that. And I just, pretty much I was looking at a review and stuff because I was in a good amount of episodes. And then it reaches to that point, and I was like, ah, crap, man, I'm not actually there yet, am I? So, yeah, here we are talking about Negima. And I'm basically talking about the Negima that I remember years ago. And because I remember this kind of Negima that I remember like a long time ago and all that, I still remember the nostalgia and just what it gave me when I first witnessed, the anime. Because I soon discovered of like what I was into, which was usually like harems, yuris, yaois, and probably still to this day into that, because I was into that, there was that variation of romance or shuju, romance during that time and that I was heavily into, looking at the aesthetics of different other animes like, Negima, of course, and Nana and Paradise Kiss, and also you got Loveless and, Code Geass. The amount of stuff that I discovered within anime would be the same equivalent of just like, my audience discovering Webtoon and seeing the amount of variations of, LGBT plus content that I put in this channel. And it's like, I really appreciate that. But this anime, man, it just goes places. I just don't understand. Why a middle school? Why? Like, you seen like the amount of high schools that do get ecchi, but it just has to be in a middle school. Listen, I know in anime land is different. This probably this probably is not okay in Japan for sure. And definitely not okay here in the States witnessing this. Like usually, when things get raunchy and ecchi, like, it goes into a much more adult setting. Or at least like, somewhere up like, the end of high school, the way I look at it, from previous media. But why this? Negi, 10 years old, and you got all the students like in love with Negi, and Negi's not, built that way in any sense, except Asuna, except the Bells girl that I call her, Miss Bells. That she is usually normal, but there is a point where, she does kiss Negi, and I'm like so lost. Even though that's supposed to be a spell between like the Ernal or that ferret. I call it a ferret, okay? It's something, I know it's called something else. I'm not gonna call it that. Okay, I'm American. I'm gonna call it a freaking ferret. It looks like a ferret. I don't know animals, but I'm gonna call it a ferret. I swear, if somebody... No, Vance, it's called a Ermal. I was like, shut up. Okay, I'm calling it a ferret. You think I live in the Wales in the UK? No, I'm not, okay? American, Brooklyn, I'm a Brooklynish. I'm gonna call it a ferret, okay? But yeah, and this ferret, I still didn't like him. I don't know if it's the voice. What's up with characters that had like, same accent as me? Like, I just don't like, and it sounded like a very older individual and something like that. Couldn't sound like me. Couldn't sound a little bit younger, but it is what it is. And Negi, like, it's like, him being short, the idea of like, I can't imagine going to class and being taught by a 10-year-old. It just the most hilarious kind of like clownish thing you can actually see of an image is my professor or teacher, instead of it being a 40 or 30-year-old, someone that is more knowledgeable, it's a 10-year-old. It's like, and these students are just like, at least only one that is like, why are we being taught by a 10-year-old? That kind of deal. And all of these characters itself and the students have their own variation of like, who they are, their individual side, their like, it's very interesting. It goes into those like anime tropes for sure, but it does have like that, like winning effect of, showing a bit of like their ability and what they can do, especially the girl into gymnastics using that like rope or whatever, it's that ribbon thing as almost like a weapon, but also as a grapple, which is kind of like, interesting to look at, like a rope. And the Karate Kid, duo, or the one that is pretty much into like, Chinese style karate, kung fu, whatever. Like that I could see many of these characters utilizing so much more to benefit Negi into whatever evil that enters. Even though there's a couple of villains within the class as well, that was interesting to see, but they became, I guess, cool with Negi as, time flows by of like, their situation, and I don't want to spoil it. But this anime, despite the tropes and what, it had amazing ideas. It had like so much potential of just like being more than just like a harem, or just like, something that is just, I guess from what I've seen, something more than just love interest for Negi, because that's definitely what a harem is, of course. But like, I'm just wishing that, it would be someone a bit older, even though I don't know how that work. Like, imagine Negi being the same age as the students and, teaching them. I could have been cool with that, but a 9 or 10-year-old, like, he's too smart to actually, like the idea of the trope from what I remember is that Negi was like 10, graduating from Wales of like, of a mage, and then achieving its, final goals to actually be a professor in in a class. And, and it seems like the first time I seen the actual teacher, that for whatever reason, it just feels like, there was only one guy teacher. That one guy teacher that as soon as in love with, creepily, like, I just don't understand that. But that one teacher, I mean, that leader teacher that actually is helping Negi and stuff like that, seem much more wiser. And there's a part of me where I wish he would be, the professor. I wish that he would run the class, or at least have a TA or something to actually help Negi, that, someone that is a bit older, to, keep an eye on the class or whatever. And I don't know what it is with the decisions, especially that one episode where they're making a website, that still, to me, is disturbing, because like, why on earth you're putting your class online out there, in today's age, that would just not roll. Okay, I'm just being real with you. But it's a good anime despite all that. Okay, I really do want to see more, especially witnessing a manga. This was years ago, actually. The Negima series is pretty old now, thinking about it. Like, these girls are probably like in their 30s. Like the what is it? This manga that I'm trying to remember, because this was a long time ago. I remember going to Barnes and Nobles, and there was this manga that is, I was just checking out different mangas, here and there. And then I saw one that was called UK Holder or something like that, UQ, or, whatever it is. It's related to the Negima series because it kind of almost looks like the same style, probably by the same artist or the same manga, novelist. And I saw this manga, and I remember seeing, and this could be spoilers for sure, but let's be honest, this is, you don't know what happened or anything like that. I saw a tombstone in this manga, and it said Negima, and I'm like, wait a minute, what? And it immediately just shocked me. And this, even though this was years ago, it was like, wait, what? So I had to come back to Negima, and I had to come back to Negima 6 years later. I had to come back to Negima, actually wondering what that is. Like, what happened to him? Where is his tombstone? Listen, if there was a game or a scene where Super Mario had his own tombstone, and from some game or something, and it's like, you saw it like 3 years ago, would you be curious too? I would be curious in the first day. I'm like, yo, I need to play all these games to see what happened to Super Mario. What happened? Or at least the Super Mario movies that goes on. Does he die ever in real life itself? Like, of course I don't know how old he would be in this current age, if age exists in game world and in the Super Mario world. But it's one of those instances, and that's why I had to come back to the game to really, really discover like what happened, and I believe there's like different seasons and variations. I believe I'm going to be honest. Personally, ironically, as you see me do all these webtoons and here and that, I don't like reading manga. I only like reading manga if I really got nothing to do. I only like it if I was like going to the bookstore, saw a couple of mangas here and there. I'm like, oh, let me check this out. Let me see what it's about. But when it comes down to manga, for me, I'm not a manga reader. Okay, you'd be surprised because yes, I read webtoons. Yes, I read other stuff for sure. Manga, 100% most of the time. There's been so many mangas like that I'm like, oh, yo, I gotta see this because the series continues. Like, for example, Oran High School continues in the manga series. Season 2. Where is season 2 of the anime? I don't know. But it continues in the manga. But the thing is that I just can't bring myself to either read any manga in my free time. I just don't roll like that. Even though I like, especially when I prefer like reading it like physically on my hands compared to reading it on my phone and stuff like that. Either way, I'm not going to read. I'm not going to a bookstore just to read manga, just to continue series and stuff like that. Unless I'm like getting lunch out there and, going to the groceries and there just happens to be a bookstore nearby and like, oh, there's manga. That's the only instance that I'm actually going to be reading manga. But other than that, like, I don't read manga at all. But there is a part of me where I might have to after watching the Negima series and continuing on, because I'm only in the middle of these episodes. I haven't reached to, in any extent, the later episodes or the later chapters within the Negima world, okay? But I'm interested to see more, and pretty much, yeah, this is not supposed to be like that kind of review where I analyze every instance, and I could have just said this in the beginning, but hey, if you see my reviews, you wouldn't be surprised. Oh, there goes Vince with his, escapades of different, like, lengths of timestamps. Yep, I'm mixing it up. I'm mixing it up everywhere I go. Every time I review anything, I'm probably going to talk about the ending before I talk about the plot. Because I'm just here to talk about nostalgia. I love talking about nostalgia. And Negima is one of those series where I love, like, just at least having a good amount of that nostalgia for me to see each episodes. Knowing that I still remember some of the stuff. I'm still coming back. The amount of stuff, especially of the amount of video games, I'm still coming back. I've been having this retro gaming series binge of just different, games I've been trying to catch up. Like Metal Gear, Halo, on to the third Halo, and I'm just trying to witness all of this content before it goes away. That's what I'm trying. The same thing with the game, the same thing with other series and other movies. I'm kind of like in that motion. I guess that's how I, really spend my summer break is, overindulging in like content from years ago, but content that is like, that I know that I will never forget, that would inspire me as a writer and, and also inspire me in a sense of creativity and all that stuff, But, yeah, just here to talk about the game, what you want. Other than that, thank you guys for checking out what it is, whatever this video is. I thought it was going to be a rant video about Negima, because let me tell you, why does it have to be a 10-year-old, okay? Why? the amount of characters that I, really enjoyed throughout this. We saw a little bit of the shy girl, the blonde girl as a character where I felt like so deep for, in a sense of, emotion and empathy, like what she has been through, even though, like, she would still pick fights with Asuna, and Asuna would just like ruin the moments of just like just just for her, like, itself, and their explanation of why they fight. And Asuna is a good character, a tough one, and also one that is a, big picture between a lot of these, a lot of these other characters compared to her, because it does feel like, like Negima is being taken care of by her own classmates, because it's a 10-year-old being taken care of all these other students that are just like, teenagers, compared to like Negima just being a little kid. But at the end of the day, I'm sorry, at the end of the day, these are all minors, okay? What are you doing? What are you doing with these minors? What is up with the love interest? And where do we go with that? It's supposed to be cute? I don't know. Is it? Maybe, maybe not. It was cute when I first saw it, when I was actually the same age as these girls. But now I've grown up, I'm like, wait a minute. Okay, hold on. What's going on here? Anyways, thank you guys for watching. Subscribe, like, comment, all that jazz, all that goodness. I'll see you when I see you. One love of the peace.